This is Emily Braun's Family History Parent Extra Credit interview for CYAF 280. Okay, question 1. When and where were you born? We'll start with you, Mom.
I was born in Lamars, Iowa, January 8th, 1958.
And Dad?
I was born in Henderson, Nebraska on August 13th, 1956.
Thank you. Question 2. What did your parents or my grandparents do for a living? Dad, we'll start with you this time.
My parents were farmers, been on the family farm, and were farmers all their lives.
My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and there were 6 kids in our family, and my dad was, he owned a meat processing plant.
Very nice. How do you believe this impacted your childhood?
Well, as far as my family goes, my dad being self-employed, a small business, it was kind of a family situation. Kids were involved, more of my brothers than myself, but he was busy, but it was a small town.
I loved growing up on the farm. I got to be with my dad. We rode in the tractor a lot, trucks. Just loved being in it, and always wanted to be a farmer myself.
And for me also, having my mom home was great. She was available for us kids all the time.
Oh, thank you. How did you meet each other?
That's a story. That's kind of a long story. We both ended up in Phoenix, Arizona, and actually we both were married once before. Neither one of us had kids, and I had moved to Phoenix for the weather. I graduated from the University of South Dakota and was a dental hygienist and decided I wanted to go someplace warm. So I moved to Phoenix, and I met your dad when I cleaned his teeth. He was patient.
I was in Arizona working at a resort golf course, and needed to get my teeth cleaned as part of the dental plan, and had a brochure of about 100 dental offices, and I just picked one, and it happened to be the right one.
Well, isn't that cute? How long had you been dating when you decided to get married?
Not very long. I think having been married once before.
3 days?
No. 6 months. 6 months. I cleaned his teeth on February 9th. That was in 1988. And we got married August 6th.
Very nice.
That same year? That was a long time ago.
Please describe your early years of marriage, maybe such where you lived and what you did for employment, please.
Well, we ended up moving back to Nebraska. Your dad's dad, your grandpa, of course, passed away from a farm accident. So 6 months after we got married, we bought a house in Phoenix and decided that your dad was going to go back to farm. So we ended up on the farm in Hampton, Nebraska, which I had said growing up in Iowa that I was never going to marry a farmer because I didn't want to live on a farm. But things change. So it was in March of 1989 that we moved back to Hampton. And it was at that time, after we'd been married for 6 months, that I found out we were expecting our first baby.
She cried all the way back.
Yeah, I didn't want to go back to Nebraska. I cried for the first 2 years we lived there.
She hated it. We had a rental house, and it was it was okay, but it wasn't exactly what we had expected, and it was tough. Money was short, and so
Definitely factors of a new marriage.
Yep.
2 miles from my mother-in-law. Oh, no, it wasn't a bad thing, but it was an adjustment, that's for sure.
What would you describe the best parts of the early years of marriage?
Oh, probably once we went back to Nebraska, it was nice. I worked part-time then, um, and having our first baby, of course, that was exciting when Katie was born in November of 1989.
Best parts,
Mm-hmm.
just the fact that we spent time together and it made a lot of decisions, and uh, just there wasn't a lot of money, so it was just simple and easy and not a lot of headaches.
On the other side of it, what would you describe the most difficult parts to be?
For me, going to a small town, very small, Hampton was only 400, and not knowing anybody, but that's where your dad had grown up, so everybody knew him. So that was kind of awkward. And then just trying to get to know people. That got easier with time after you kids started growing up. And
You could meet some parents.
right through that. But in the beginning, I think that's probably why I cried for 2 years, because it was hard. It was hard finding a doctor. It was hard, and I was working for a dentist, but it was a very small town, and everybody kind of knew everything.
What about for you, Dad?
Trying to establish myself on the farm, getting, financially, it was hard. Needed benefits. Just taking care of the needs of the family was somewhat difficult, and so anyway, those were some of the tougher challenges. And then again, coming back with a new wife that didn't necessarily know anybody, and it wasn't easy for her, and I kind of was conscientious of that, I think, most of the time. Some of the time.
You were.
And how did you feel about becoming parents? Did you feel like you were prepared? I mean, I know that you mentioned you didn't date for very long, so.
Well, I think since we were older, we were prepared. We were excited.
Your mom said your biological clock was ticking.
No, I was 30 when we got married, and you were almost 32. So we had kind of planned on having kids right away.
Very nice. Did both of you participate in taking care of us kids?
Yeah, pretty much. Your dad was busy, but he was a pretty involved dad.
Did you establish roles that each of you did, or did you take turns doing, for example, changing diapers and bath time? How did that work?
I probably did bath time most of the time just because of his farming schedule. But no, he did diapers. Having Katie and John close together, since your brother and sister were only 11 and a half months apart, your dad was very involved with helping. He was
your sister had the smelliest diapers.
Then we had that little break. We had 4 years before you came along, Emily. So.
And we had Buddy, the golden retriever. He was always there. He used to, when John and Katie were little, and even in their little swings or car seats or whatever they sat on the floor, Buddy would lay there between them and just always kind of took care of them. He was a great dog. So.
Yeah, it's a whole family there except for me, though.
That was before Emily.
What was the most difficult part about adjusting to parenthood?
Probably schedules, and probably more with having them so close together, the first two, because it was probably, I think, even almost more difficult than having twins, because we get through a stage with Katie, and then John was in the stage, and so it was a busy time.
Anything to add, Dad?
Well, it was just, again, they were the older two were pretty little when I started working off the farm and then doing 2 jobs. It became, really taxing. But you know,
And
we
that
kind of
was, you started that after, I was pregnant with Emily when you started working at the ethanol plant and farming in Aurora.
she was born in '94. I started working there in '95.
Okay, it was just after.
So she was a baby though.
I was pregnant. We were doing the fruit thing, and I was pregnant. Yeah.
Yeah, at our age, the facts get blurred.
What did you enjoy most about parenting?
Is Emily really our baby?
Not the time for this.
What?
What did you enjoy most about parenting?
Oh, it's rewarding. Just spending the time.
Three great kids. We just, you know, all different. They did their own things, different personalities. I think we always wanted to make sure that we didn't make the mistakes that we felt our parents made. So anyway, it was rewarding. It was rewarding being parents.
A huge part of parenting, I think, too, is, you know, taking a lot from your parents, but also, like you said, realizing what you want to do differently, too. So I think it's cool that you kind of made those adjustments to fit your
Hopefully.
style of parenting needs.
Not perfect by any means, but
What problems did you experience while raising children?
I hate to sound like that parent that said my kids were so good. I mean, by no means were you all perfect, but we didn't have huge problems with any of you.
Which one wasn't perfect?
Oh goodness.
Well, no, they yeah. I mean, again, nobody got in a lot of trouble. We chuckle about things that may at the time been a big deal, but in hindsight, they were just a part of growing up and part of the experience. And I think for the most part, we handled those situations pretty well.
Yep.
Rolled with the punches.
We should ask you, did we?
I mean, I think you did. I think I turned out okay, but if you could, would you change anything about the way you have parented your children?
Well, that's a tough question. In hindsight, that's tough. What do you think? What should we have done?
Can't go back. I mean, we did what we did. We did the best we could at the time, and I don't think about what I'd have done differently. I like to think about what we're doing going forward.
Very nice. In your opinion, what are the primary components to having a successful, happy family life?
God.
Being committed to the family unit. It's not. There's going to be times where it's not easy, but being committed to your children and giving up things that you personally want to do, or doing it for each other. You kids were all very involved in sports as well as I had many years ago, and I think that doing it for the team concept is incredibly valuable to how you think about anything.
Yeah, just being supportive and loving you guys unconditionally, no matter what.
I always think you guys did a good job of separating your work life and your family life as well, so that's very important too.
Well, thank you.
What advice would you give me about how to have a strong, healthy family?
Pick your partner wisely. We screwed up the first time, so we don't want you to have to go through that.
Oh, make sure you keep God centered in your life. Talk to Him every day. Make sure that you keep yourself on the right track. Other than that, everything else falls into place.
Thank you for that. Where do you hope to be in the next 3 to 5 years now that you're empty nesters?
Well, we'll probably still be in St. Joe. I'm afraid.
Well, I spend a lot more time thinking about retirement years as they approach closer. What do we want to do? Where do we want to be? What do we expect of our retirement? You know, hobbies. What are we going to do? Travel, move.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll get me to kayak, but
Yeah. I
Do you
need somebody.
think you'll try anything that you haven't before?
oh, we're always up to that.
Yeah, I think
I
skydiving.
mean, yeah, not that. I'm afraid of heights. No way.
What about the next 10 years? Any special dreams for the future?
Just keep breathing.
Retire. I'm fortunate to be retired now.
I,
I hope my kids in time will get married and have grandkids. 10 years, I hope so.
we didn't do a lot of traveling growing up. I would like to. Never been to the Pacific Northwest. Never been to the New England states. Would like to see those. Just haven't traveled a lot.
Oh, you've been to Spain and Portugal and
So
All right, well, thank you very much for taking the time